Aloha, folks. Old ugly white guy here. No, I guess I shouldn't say that. It's not all about race, is it? Oh, which brings me to the topic of today's, or this afternoon's, video. A lot of people are speaking on this, of all denominations, sexes, colors, creeds, orientations. And well, they should, because it's the topic du jour. And I think regardless of your race, which I think is, if you want to talk about constructs, social constructs, there's one, because I think we're all pretty much some shade of brown, aren't we? Whether it's a very light brown like myself or a very dark brown like other people. Anyway, I digress. Um, so what I want to talk about today is the myth, for lack of a better title, of reverse racism. Again, this topic has been covered, but I feel pretty strongly about it, so I'm going to offer my opinion, just like everybody else does. You can agree with it. You can tell me to shove it up my ass. You can tell me I'm the best thing since sliced bread. Really doesn't matter too much. I just want people to think about what they're doing and saying and why they're doing and saying those things. And you can, obviously come to your own conclusions after that. Um, just like most intelligent people, or most people who, actually use facts and logic and reason in their argumentation, I would agree with the contention or the assertion that reverse racism does not exist. Why, you say? Well, because racism is racism, right? There's no reverse racism. It's just racism. If you're a racist, you're a racist. Doesn't matter who you're racist against. Um, all sorts of different people can be racist. But you say, that's not true. People of color can't be racist against whites. Well, you know, this is kind of the thing I really wanted to debate. It's, I guess, sort of clickbait to say the myth of reverse racism. Um, there are two basic definitions of racism, right? The one basically contends that racism equals the inference or conviction or belief that one's race is superior to another solely based on that and only that, the color of skin, the actual race itself. Um, I think that's the one you'll find in the dictionaries, not verbatim stated, but basically, if you make sweeping generalizations and inferences and then put those into practice in a discriminatory fashion and make assumptions about inferiority or superiority of one's race, that is racism, and you are a racist. Now, the more recent definition, or I guess alteration of the definition, infers power. That marginalized people, othered people, sometimes they're called, not my term, I don't like that term, but it's not for me to like or dislike, um, don't have social and political power enough to put discriminatory practices, I guess, into law or into legislation or into practice in such an extent that it actually has a significant effect on the people that they would be superior to. I personally don't buy that. Um, and the reason I don't buy that is because there are members of marginalized communities who do have a significant amount of power, um, regardless of the color of their skin. Um, Not just in America, but in other countries as well. I mean, you know, I guess if you specifically want to say that people of color, I don't know why I'm dancing around this. Say black people, Asians, um, Latinos, whoever it might be, um, are not able to be racist. Do you mean just in America? And seriously, I'm asking that question. Um, and if so, please down in the old comment box, let me know what you think about it, because I'd really like to actually have this discussion, because I'm really wondering, um, where those thoughts come from, what sort of support you might have for that, and why you feel that way. Um, because I would argue that Latin people, for example, in South America, could very easily be racist. And in fact, I would imagine that if you look for support for that theory. You'll find it pretty easily. I used to live in Asia, and I can tell you that in Asia there is a hell of a lot of racism, and it is Asian people being racist against usually other Asians of different Asian races, even within the African continent, um, amongst different black tribes. There's a lot of racism going on. So if you want to say that it's a position of power, well then yeah, socio-politically speaking, it's easy for the group that's in power to engage in discriminatory practices. Does that mean that they're the only people that can be racist? I really don't think so. Um, and again, within the specific example of America, uh, and again, please tell me if you don't think I'm being clear enough on this, because I'd love to debate it further with anybody in a rational way. Even within America, within certain communities, I mean, you see Latino mayors, Latina mayors, Latinx, I guess that's trendy to call them. Black mayors, people within all walks of life, all in government, in business. I know they're underrepresented. I agree with that. I don't think it's right. Believe me. Um, but is a person like Oprah Winfrey not in a position of power? Is a person like LeBron James not in a position of power? Um, you know, Thurgood Marshall. I mean, is that guy not in a position of power or was? Um, Clarence Thomas. Um, Barack Obama, I'm sorry to bring that up, but was he not in a position of power? So it seems like, I guess if you're talking about majority power, slightly different, yes. Um, but say, for example, that you don't accept my refutation of that definition. Okay, um, that is within the framework of debate and discourse. Then you're allowed to do that. I would argue that we can't pick and choose which terms we define and which ones we don't. I mean, in English language, most terms are pretty clearly defined and have been for a long time. So if you want to talk about, or if you want to debate a term, you should use the term that has already been defined and not make up your own definition. Now, that being stated, if we want to change this around and say, okay, people of color are not able to be racist. Okay, let's say, for example, that I now accept this to be fact, which I don't, but for the sake of this argument, um, let's just accept that. You're not able to be racist. We'll just throw the word racist right out the fucking window because it doesn't really matter. It's a term, right? And we all know what the term means, I think. When it gets down to its brass tacks, practically speaking, it means that you don't like somebody else based on the color of their skin, and you assume things about them based on the color of skin only. Okay. Um, I don't know who it was. I don't remember. I think maybe Jasmine something. It's a YouTuber. I believe she's from Toronto. Um, she coined this phrase. I didn't. So again, if you know who she is, or if you ever happen to watch my tiny ass little video channel, chime in because I thought it was great and I think you're very intelligent. Um, she said just discard the word racist and replace it with the word asshole. Okay, so okay, you can't be racist, but you can definitely be an asshole. Um, and again, I'm not saying everybody is an asshole because that would be silly because I don't know everybody. Neither do you. So when you're talking about reverse racism, yeah, obviously it doesn't exist because there's no such thing as reverse racism. It's just racism. And then if you go further than that to say that black people can't be racist, Mexican people can't be racist, Asian people can't be racist, subcontinental Indians can't be racist, Native Americans can't be racist. Okay, for the sake of this discussion, I will accept that. But I will continue to say that I have seen great evidence, recently in particular, of many people making sweeping generalizations about a lot of people just based on the color of their skin. Now, obviously, a lot of the, I don't want to call them attacks because well, obviously, I guess I do care if I'm making a video, but a lot of the generalizations that are made, a lot of the statements that are made are sweeping, unfounded generalizations about whites, white males in particular, cis white males in particular. Um, I am a heterosexual cis white male, if you couldn't tell, but I've never defined myself that way. I guess it's easy for me not to have to do that, but I don't have white guilt. I don't have white shame, nor am I a racist. And if you don't believe that, you can shove it straight up your ass, really, honestly. But anyway, my point is remove the word racist, implement the word asshole. If you make judgments about people that you don't know, because there are what, I guess about 200 million white people in America, uh, boy, in order for anyone to make a generalization about 200 million people, you have to be an asshole, especially if it's a negative generalization. Assuming that I'm a racist, you've never met me, you don't know my history, you don't know where I've been, you don't know what I think or feel. Now, I'm certainly not representative of all white people, just as a person of color watching this video is not representative of their race or of their ethnicity or their creed or their sex. And assuming that everybody is, that's douchebaggery of the highest order. And I'm just going to call you an asshole. If you don't want to call yourself a racist, if you don't want to believe that you're a racist, that's fine with me. But you're a complete prick. You're a complete asshole. And that's what racism is, basically, is being an asshole. You know, you make generalizations, you have beliefs about people that are based on nothing of fact, very little experience. Like if you want to talk about shit that happened 100 plus years ago, that's fine. Slavery was awful, 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 awful. And I am of the opinion that black people in particular in this country have had it very difficult because of slavery. You know, I'm not saying that black people don't have it difficult or that minorities in general don't have it difficult. But, you know, making this assertion or contention that you can't be racist because of the color of your skin, okay, I don't believe that. But again, I will say that you're an asshole. If you don't like white people because they're white, you're an asshole. If you don't like Mexicans because they're Mexican, you're an asshole. If you don't like Muslims because of their religion, you're an asshole. If you don't like women because they're women, you're an asshole. So reverse racism doesn't really matter as a term. Even I would say racism doesn't really matter as a term because we're talking about the same thing. And that's that if you discriminate against people solely on who they are rather than what they are rather than who they are, right? I think it was Martin Luther King has said, "It's not my color, it's the content of my character." That should be the whole of the summary of judgments, right? Don't hold it against everybody because a few people have been this or a few people have been that. Yeah, I'm kind of prattling on here, so I'll stop it there. But I guess the point of this video would be don't be an asshole.